Hey guys, how's it going? So, my Twitch chat asked me if I would be hopping on the trend of FGO tubers explaining why they grailed their servants. I'm not sure if this is a trend, but I did see that Mist did it and it looked fun, so sure, I'll do that too. Also, go watch Mist's 2 videos on the subject after this. Grails are the ever-important resource in Fate that can allow you to show your favoritism to certain servants. They can be used to bolster low-rarity servants that you like to keep them relevant in the late game, or make your high-rarity servants even more powerful than they were before. But I don't personally subscribe to that philosophy of Grail usage. I'm a firm believer that Grails should be used on servants that you like over meta purposes, and that the extra benefits that come with grailing are secondary. Now, you're going to notice a bit of a trend when it comes to personalities of the characters that I choose to grail, that looking back was not intentional and not at all a determining factor in why I grailed them, but still kind of funny and interesting nonetheless. Let's start with the big one. Ushi Wakamaru was the first character I grailed in the game. She was also one of the very first servants that I ended up summoning. I have always been a sucker for Japanese history and mythology, and Ushi being this interesting amalgamation of both was a solid hit for me. Her portrayal in Fate made me start looking into the events of the Genpei War, and her astounding tales and feats just captured my imagination. It also helps that she is one of the better written characters in FGO, being one who has a dynamic personality while still maintaining her core trait, loyalty. Also, she's the big cute and deserves all the head pats in the world. It's kind of difficult to really wrap my head around why I like Ushi so much. It's one of those things where it was kind of I saw her and immediately knew, like, yeah, okay, this one, I can work with this. I've had similar cases like that with other games, such as Plume in Arknights, Huma in Tower of Fantasy, and Ganyu in Genshin. It's a really odd feeling to describe, but you know it when it happens. Mordred, and by extension, Summer Mordred, is amazing on the design front. She was by far the best part of Fate Apocrypha, and her relationship with Kairi always hits pretty close to home. So immediately when I saw her in FGO, I knew that I wanted her. Never mind all the tomboy supremacy stuff that's always 100% true, Mordred is always a joy to see on screen. She was by far the only memorable part of London, she was great in Lost Belt 3, and her role in events is usually pretty humorous as well. I will say that she's kind of weak in Camelot, but that's beside the point. She is a character that I am never upset to see show up, and that I proudly use even though she is statistically worse than her 4-star edgy dad. So Gareth is kind of a weird one. I made the decision on appearance alone initially that I was going to grail her when I first saw her concept art after looking up some stuff about the Camelot singularity. Way back, even before Lost Belts were even really a thing, there was a link on a website reading through the Camelot story that took you to a page for Gareth. The page itself was very limited, mentioning what had happened with Gareth and Lancelot, and that she was a Knight of the Round Table and a gender bend. And the only art of her that existed at the time was the default second ascension, no expressions, nothing, just the straight up face. That was then eventually reused for Summer 3. So, once I saw that she got released on JP, I knew that I had to start hoarding grails. This was back when I was NA exclusive and not a one of you knew who I was. I just have a thing for night girls and short hair, and Gareth fits that package perfectly. She's cute, and every interaction that I see her in the game is always really charming. I love the fact that you would expect her to have the little sister personality when she actually has the Onesan one. She's just another one who deserves all the head pats, and I'm excited to see what she does in Lost Belt 6. Izo is the definition of a character that cannot be judged by his appearance. When you first see Izo, you think scary homeless man, which is 100% my vibe. But then you see how they actually portray him, and immediately you learn that he's just kind of pathetic in a way. He is this amazingly talented genius swordsman that can replicate any style simply by seeing it, but he can't do anything because Sakamoto and his snake wife have a leash on him. That whole dynamic is just a personal favorite of mine. And then, after doing research for him, you learn that his whole story is just really sad. He was someone who wanted to belong so badly and had this massive amount of talent, but as time went on, people he trusted just seemed to sort of disown him until eventually no one was there to help him out when he needed them most, and he was put to death. His Valentine scene is 100% in the top 10 in the game because it does so much for his character and was such a huge influence on getting me to want to grail him. The grailed Abby is one that has people throw their eyebrows up because of how she looks. Personally, I wish that I could use her first ascension and still see her NP because it's one of the best animations in the entire game. If you follow this channel, then you know that I'm actually the Grand Foreigner, and I have all the foreigners currently in the game. H.P. Lovecraft is by far one of my favorite authors because of how well he builds tension and the unique horrible abominations that ooze from his mind. So, when Abby came along being the first of these abominations made manifest, I rolled for that alone. I went on to grail her for the same reason, mixed in with the fact that I just find her really adorable. She's just a really good daughter and one that I enjoy seeing interact with the other children at Chaldea. Also, pancakes are great. So those are my level 100s. Canis is one that I initially was taking to 100, but then servant coins happened and Ushi takes priority, but she will get to 100 soon. Once again, setting tomboy supremacy aside, Canis is a rare instance of a Fate character with a one-track personality being not completely insufferable. Canis goes from being one of the most hated characters in FGO during the early Lost Belts to becoming one of the most memorable parts of Atlantis and Olympus. The mythological Canis is a tragic character with a great redemption story, so it's nice to see how they mirrored that in Fate. Also, the expressions are EX tier and make me love them even more. On to the 90s. We have the goodest boy, Bedivere. This is maybe the only instance of me grailing a servant for meta-ish reasons. For the longest time, I did not have a single 4 or 5 star single target saber. No matter what banner I rolled on or what I tried, I just couldn't seem to get one. Bedivere is a servant that I love dearly for his tragic portrayal in Fate and his legends with Sir Kay and King Arthur. Again, I have a major thing for knight girls, but normal knights are an aesthetic I can get behind too. That's a huge reason as to why I play Reinhardt and am a paladin in Final Fantasy XIV. So, to alleviate my bad luck and fill in the necessary role of a single target saber, I grailed him to 90. He is another one that falls into the puppy personality group with Ushi, Gareth, and Izo, but I also really enjoy him being the voice of reason for the Round Table Knights, but also still being willing to go along with their antics at the same time. Estrella is kind of a funny one because I'm actually not too hot on the Drill Hero Joe girls. Plus, I can hear her laugh echo across the walls of my skull anytime I see her. Despite that, I would say that she has one of the most unique art styles in all of FGO. This was the big thing that drew me to her initially, but from there I found that I really liked her personality, and I love the fact that she does combat sports. For the unaware, I wrestled all throughout high school and took taijutsu in college and boxing after that. So seeing someone else who shares the same interest in CQC is just kind of fun. I also just really like her personality of being a goddess of justice, but still utilizing might makes right. The more I think about her, the more I just think that she's a really fun and engaging character, and want to maybe grail her even further at some point. Now for my only regret grail, sitting at level 85, Summer Skahawk. I say it's a regret grail, but I do still love Shisho a lot. She was one of, if not the very first Welfer that I got in the game, and I had just started as well, so the idea of what grailing someone really meant wasn't exactly there. Like, at that point I had grailed Ushi to 80, and I liked Skahawk, so I threw her one. Then her event ended, and I couldn't justify bringing her because she does not work without an event damage buff. I'm currently at an impasse as to whether I would take away her grail if I could. I probably wouldn't because I have real life memories that are tied around when that event was taking place, but I'll tell you what, if she ever does get a buff, I will give her another one to bring her up to a fine 90. Now, for my last grailed unit I have on NA, and my only level 80 grail, Tawara Toda. Toda's personality and art are what sold me on him initially. He's fun, lighthearted, and incredibly charismatic. He's also just a pretty solid unit even before his buffs. He is one of those units that I can't really find a good reason to bring very often in the game, but I have no regrets about giving him those 2 grails. The other reason is that his legend is actually one that was read to me in kindergarten, along with other stories like the Anansi spider and how Coyote stole the sun and the moon. So in a way, he's one of my childhood fairy tale heroes come back to visit, so he has more than earned it. My JP account is less than a year old, so as for grails, I don't have any grails. I have 4 servants in total that have been grailed, all of which I plan to take to level 100 at some point. First off is Charlotte, who is already at level 100. So a theme for this JP account in terms of grailing is that I want to give the grails to low rarity servants that I believe are underappreciated and that I personally love. Charlotte is very popular because of her role in Atlantis, and I am not immune to that propaganda. I think that Charlotte is worth every single grail because her personality and defeatist attitude are something I can relate to. I'm going to spare the details on my own mental health, but that's certainly an issue I've had to deal with daily, so having a servant like that in the game is just kind of nice to see. She's also big cute as well and kind of scary, which is hot. At level 96 and soon to be 100 after I finish the Epic of Remnants is Babbage. Babbage is a servant that people sleep hard on, so I want to be the one to make the world's largest Babbage. He, for me, fits into the realm of servants whose design and lore are the most fun to theorycraft with. He is there with characters like Nursery Rhyme, Jack, Yanking, and Gilgamesh, whose powers have unexplored potential. For me personally, his design, voiced by Anada Tetsu, and playstyle are all very well done. I expect that he's on the list of soon-to-be updated servants in the animation department, given that he is also weirdly prominent in events. He's a lot like Jin Kei in that he doesn't show up in the main story very often, but his effect and presence in Chaldea is felt throughout the game's events. I love this big guy, and I want to see him explored further. I just never really had the grails for him on NA. At level 80 is Billy. Billy is, for my JP account, kind of what Bedivere was for my NA account. I love Billy and the way how FGO has chosen to portray him. I love the voice actress who does him, who is also Drake's VA, Takano Urara. There is something very charming to me about there being this young man with a gun who managed to carve his way onto the throne of heroes by being a master escape artist and a damn good shot and kind of a folk hero, taking on the likes of literal ancient gods and deity. Like, to kind of break it down, Billy's just a guy. I've done my research on him in the past, and the last podcast and Left Guys did an amazing series on him, and his whole deal is that he just wanted to be free. He's also just a damn good archer for his rarity and is super fun to use. I'd give him more cups if I wasn't occupied with the big man at the moment. Finally, we have a character that a lot of people in the Fate community just kind of forget existed, and sits at level 75 for me, Mary Anning. I'll be honest, the main reason I grailed her is because I love her art. When Rio wants to make a servant, he makes some hella good designs. Like, all of the 4 servants that he has drawn in the game have memorable, unique, and fun designs, and Mary Anning is no different. It helps that she has the kit of a 5-star servant and a 1-star one. I also have an appreciation for both geology and archaeology, having wanted to be an archaeologist for the longest time, so I appreciate her on that level as well. I also just like that she has this standoffish personality that eventually warms up to you once she knows that you're not going to degrade her for her work. She's great, I love her a lot. As for the future, for those unaware, there is a system called Grailforge that is going to be implemented in about a year in NA. You can turn coins into grails with it. Once this happens, there's already a list of servants on NA that are immediately getting grailed, but rather than dedicate a full section describing why, I'll just tell you and give the reasoning in a line or two. Qinliang Yu, I think that she is one of the most fun characters to use in FGO, and her lore design and story portrayal inspired me to make Fate content at all, which is what you're watching right now. Saito Hajime, go watch my video on him and the Shinsengumi. He's a fascinating and silently tragic character in history. He puts on a brave face. Barghast, it's a blonde night girl with a puppy personality, do the math. Summer Gareth, rewind to the Gareth part. Zhu Fu, I relate to this girl on a spiritual level for various reasons. Go read her Bansi description. Van Gogh, if anyone hurts her, I will kill everything in a 20-meter radius and then myself. 100 Faces, she was one of the members of my OG party with Ku Alter and MASH up until Camelot, and I owe her all the world's respect. But that's that. Let me know who you grailed and why. Everyone has a reason, and a lot of the time it's a fairly heartwarming one. Or just say that you did it because they're hot, because that's also valid. But let me know. Also, if you haven't already, go watch this video on this because they were really nice as well. Do the YouTube stuff, check my links for the Discord, Twitch, and Twitter. But for now, guys, keep your chin up. Peace.